Clock. Welcome to our Washington City Council regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 28th. We're here at City Hall, and we are in our regular meeting, which is also broadcast via YouTube Live, linked at washingtoncity.org/meetings. I'd like to excuse Councilmember Martinson. He is traveling on business this evening, but has reviewed all of the items on the agenda, as do all of these council members. We're going to get started with an invocation. So I'd like to invite my friend Pastor Jake Dufault with the Westside Baptist Church to come forward. If you'd like to say a few words and then lead us in prayer. Pastor, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Let's go ahead and just open in a word of prayer this evening. Lord, we are thankful for this country, and we're thankful for the freedoms that we enjoy here. Lord, tonight we lift up those in Florida as this hurricane hits, and we pray for safety and protection of life. We ask for the first responders there that you would give them help throughout. Lord, we are thankful to live in this community and this beautiful area of our country, and we pray that even in more trying times, that you would continue to help us to grow, and that you would give wisdom to us as we move forward. Pray for these council members tonight as they work through the agenda for this evening. Give them wisdom and help, and may we continue to have a wonderful and free community to live in. Pray for our police officers and our first responders here in Washington City and Washington County. Ask that you would help them to be able to do their job freely and to be able to be safe on our streets. We ask for your help and your glory throughout this evening, and we pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. It was a wonderful prayer. We appreciate the service that you provide the community, and we're grateful for the Interfaith Council and your willingness to participate with our meetings. Thank you. All right, moving along to the Pledge of Allegiance, I've invited Planning Commissioner Pete Bullock to come forward and lead us in the pledge. Commissioner.
You guys. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, Council, at this time I'll turn to you for an approval of the agenda. Before I do that, I will just note that we do have need to go into closed session for item 11C, not for 11A or B.
Mayor, I'll make that approval of the agenda for our regular city council meeting, September 28th.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ivy.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Just a few announcements here. Right now is a movie in the park. I think it's Princess and the Bride. So if you get bored with the entertainment here, you're welcome to some pretty good food trucks and entertainment. So
Kind of a tough decision,
it
council versus that.
if this meeting gets long, that doesn't go for staff, though. You're stuck here. Just a few announcements. We appreciate the Utah Food Bank and the local chapter. On the last Thursdays of the month, they are at our Washington City Community Center with the mobile food pantry. They are there. I believe they start distribution at 8:30, but the line starts sooner than that. So if you can donate, please donate. If you're in need or know someone who's in need, please share that information. And we appreciate the Washington chapter of the Rotary Club for their service in that. It's humbling to be up there. Public Power Week is October 2nd through October 8th. So we just want to say thank you and recognize our linemen and all those who work in our Washington City Power Department. The Huntsman World Senior Games are coming right up. Opening ceremonies are October 4th at 7 p.m. In the Greater Zion Stadium. Many of us electeds and staff members will be at the Utah League of Cities and Towns in Salt Lake City from October 5th through the 7th, trying to continually do our public service even better. And city offices will be closed on October 10th in observance of Columbus Day. Anything I missed, council? Okay,
I do have something, Mayor.
Please,
I don't know
Councilman.
what- You haven't missed it, but I just wanted to mention that October is a Domestic Violence Awareness Month for the Dove Center. I've had the Dove Center add activities throughout October in your packets. If you can attend, there'll be a booth at each one of the events listed, and I'd love to have you there and your support, and the community as well. And they provide a great service for our community, and we consider them a valuable partner in what they do. So
great. Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate your service on the board there. Anything else? Okay, item number 3. Are there any declarations of abstentions or conflicts? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4. I really appreciate the support that I see here in this room. There's not many things more important than what we're here for tonight, and that is for the introduction and oath of office for police officers Brennan Moore, Jason Schoonover, Kevin Larson, and Animal Control Officer Colton Tanner. One thing that, and I'm going to invite Chief to come up and invite these individuals to introduce themselves and maybe answer a few questions. But, I was talking to Chief before the meeting, and I just recognizing that we have just a great police department, and we have a great culture of service. And I asked him, I said, Chief, are these positions replacing any attrition, or are these new positions that this council has budgeted and funded for? And he said, every single one of these are new positions. And it just honestly sent chills up my spine that while other police departments are struggling to find those who are willing to serve and sacrifice and put their life on the line, this is a department where people want to work, where they know they're valued, where they know they're backed. So at this time, I'll invite our Police Chief Jason Williams forward, who has led out and created that culture, to invite these members to come forward and to administer the oath of office.
Mayor, Council, thank you for this opportunity again. Yes, we are indeed grateful for your support and this community, which we get to serve in the capacity that we do. We feel their love, and we embrace that, and we are indeed grateful for all of that. So I will invite Jason, Brennan, and Kevin and Colton all up here. Officer Brennan Moore, if you want to talk and introduce yourself and your family that are here.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Officer Brennan Moore. My parents are here, my wife, and 2 children, and my mother-in-law are here. So thanks for having me here.
Before we let you off the hook, you got a great family. It's good to see such support. Tell us what it means to you to wear the badge, what it will mean to wear the badge and to serve Washington City.
So it's going to be a good thing, because I was California Highway Patrol for 14 years, and I took a 1.5-year break, and so it's good to get back to be able to serve the community and do what I've loved for so long.
Well, we're really grateful to have you, and particularly appreciate someone who comes with a history of service. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Council. I'm Jason Schoonover. I'm here with my family. So I have my dad right here, along with, I guess we call her like stepmom. And then I have my youngest sister, Tommy, and her boyfriend. And then I have my other younger sister, Sierra, and her boyfriend.
Absolutely. Just love that support. I mean, it takes that kind of support to do this. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what it means to you to wear the uniform.
So growing up in Southern Utah most of my life, and so this is home. I came from working dispatch, and so I had the opportunity to work with all the departments in the county, and by far Washington City stands out and is above and beyond the greatest. And so being able to have an opportunity to work for Washington City was just an absolute dream come true. This is my first like actual time in law enforcement, so I'm very fresh, and I'm trying to contain all my excitement. I come in every day. I'm ready to roll, and it's fun being with all the guys. We haven't had very much attrition, so it's to see like so much of the crew stay on for so long. They're an amazing crew to work with, and they're guiding me a lot. And so I'm grateful and appreciative to be here.
Well, we feel the same way about you. You're going to fit right in. Officer Schoonover, welcome.
Thank you.
Come on forward, introduce yourself to us.
My name is Kevin Larson. My wife is Jenny. She's in the back. My kids, you'll be grateful they didn't come today. They'd be on the rafters. Should I wait for you to ask me a question, or you just want me to volunteer it?
Yeah, please tell us a little bit about yourself, and then after that, I'll probably ask you the same question I did the others.
I worked at the jail for about 10 years. I got tired of the walls, so I jumped over next door to the adult probation and parole. Was there for about 5 years, and Washington City. I've been in law enforcement for a while, and Washington City's got your reputation precedes you. We hear about it all the time over there. I was when I heard there was an opening. I much to my supervisor's dismay, I jumped over here, and yeah, I agree with the officers I spoke before. You guys are the police department here is second to none. I'm very proud to work here.
You also come to us with service then?
Yes.
At the jail, and where else did you say?
Adult probation, parole.
Adult probation. Fantastic. And you answered the question I was going to ask about reputation.
Think of another one.
No, I just, we're grateful to have you here. We're grateful that we actually we're not shy about the fact that we do think that we have the best police department around. And I'm just going to ask you that same question. You've got 3 stars above your name. Tell me what it's meant to serve and what it means to serve here going forward. Tell us.
Well, it's something I've wanted to do since I was a kid. I jumped in a little late, but the history that I have has been a great foundation for what I do now. I got to know a lot of the people that the people that you might consider problems in society. I've seen the best side of them in the jail. They get in there and they get sober, and you realize the humanity that's in them. I think I've got a pretty unique view of the types of some of the people that we deal with. It's been a pleasure to get to know these people and to help them improve their lives.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the wisdom and perspective that you share. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Animal Control Officer Colton Tanner, tell us about yourself.
I'm Colton Tanner. I just moved from another department from Santa Clara Ivins, so I've been doing that for almost about 5 years now, and I really enjoyed it and heard really good things here. I have both my brothers that work here, and one's actually in the back.
Who's here with Colton here?
Brother in the back. My girlfriend's right here, Michaela. So
it's so impressive to see the support systems for each of you, and I'm just really grateful. This is a unique role. Tell us how you decided to go into animal control and what that service means to this community.
I believe animal control is a really big important part of every city. I mean, someone's got to chase all the animals around town, right? We get the fun job, but with backing from the police department, I see that's really strong here, and I've heard nothing but good things about this department, so I'm really excited to be here.
What's your solution for a 5-pound Yorkie that runs out the front door every time my wife opens it?
Slap on the wrist, right?
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate you. Chief, anything you'd like to say, or if not, you're welcome to move into the oath of office.
No, just that each one of these gentlemen come with some background, some experience, some knowledge, and we're just glad to include them now into our family. And I think they'll do great here for Washington City. So we'll move into that oath.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
Raise your right hand. I state your name. do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah. I do also solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the laws and ordinances of Washington City, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. There you go. Thank you. I'll invite these gentlemen to sign this, and also invite up whoever is going to be pinning their badges on.
Come on forward, significant others. Fathers are significant. So are brothers and girlfriends. We need someone for our animal control officer.
It'd be awkward for Officer Schoonover because you have to seal this, and it's done with a kiss. So. Hey, I heard that.
Stay up here for just 1 minute, if you don't mind. We're going to get a picture here. And those of you that are here pinning on the badge, if you I'm just going to ask you one quick question, if you don't mind. I know.
I didn't sign up to speak.
So as you saw your officer raise his hand, and part of that was to support, obey, and defend the Constitution, right? Mm-hmm. Just the word support stood out to me. What does that mean to you in this? It's a family affair in this line of work. Can you just tell me what support might look like? You've had experience with this before. What does that mean?
Support to me in this role means that I need to stand by him and behind him. And whatever he needs from me in order to get this job done, I need to take care of for him. That is my job.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. Officer Schoonover, your father, same question. What does it mean to support your son? What does this mean to you to have a son that's a sworn-in police officer?
Always been tremendously proud of this kid. He's gonna be an amazing officer. I could promise you that. I can't say enough for him. And his mom, who's not with us anymore, she's just as proud of him. I know that. From the bottom of my heart, he's gonna do great.
Thank you.
I've supported Kevin throughout his law enforcement career, and I'll continually support him because I love him, and I will do whatever it takes to stand beside him. And we work as a team. We're Team Larson, so I'm here to be the better half and do what I can to continually love him, support him, and just do my best.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Sorry, I'm not much of a speaker, but I'm fairly new in his life, and I'm here to support him and back him in whatever he does. And he moved from Ivans and he's been there for 6 years. And I wasn't there for most of it, but I've seen what a wonderful person he's been for there. He does everything like he can possibly do. And he's been super excited about this job. And I'm just here for him and support him.
Wonderful.
Sorry, I'm nervous.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much. Chief, are we ready for a picture? Council?
You want council and the officers right now, or just with you guys?
Let's get everybody, and then we'll have the officers with.
Okay. So me in this picture, just
Yeah, we want everybody. Okay, let's get everybody.
all right, family members as well. Just want to invite the other officers back up here. Law enforcement, family, come on up.
Made us all cry.
It's a good moment.
Got a couple, Sergeant, a couple back here. No.
Thank you.
You know, I think if somebody asked me my favorite part of the job, that might be it right there, watching public safety get sworn in. Item 5 is the consent agenda. 5A is approval of the minutes from the city council meeting 9/14/22. 5B, approve the final plat for Grapevine Crossing at Sienna Hills, located at Grapevine Road and Washington Parkway. 5C is to approve a final plat for Red Mesa at Sunrise Valley Phase 2, located approximately Real Drive and Beck Drive. 5D, to approve a final plat for Standing Rock East at Long Valley Phase 1, located at approximately Long Valley Road and Staircase Way. 5E, to approve a final plat for Standing Rock East at Long Valley Phase 2, located at approximately Long Valley Road and Staircase Way. 5F is to approve a final plat for Star Springs at Long Valley Phase 3, located at approximately Wooden Shoe Drive and Lost Springs Drive. I can't anticipate any of these items requiring discussion. If so, please let me know. We'll pull it out. Otherwise, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, I don't need to pull anything out. I just want clarification on one item, please.
Go ahead, Councilman.
A lot of these projects have a condition number 1 that says all improvements shall be completed or bonded prior to recording the final plat. And this final plat, so when we see that condition, are we assuming that all those conditions are completed or bonded for? How do we, I just want to know, I think that probably should say that they have been done if we're issuing final plat here.
Go ahead, Drew.
Well, Jimmy, for anything that isn't done at this time, before it gets the signatures at the bottom, especially the last signature that goes on there is the Public Works Department. because everything has to meet whatever they, have in their standards. So there's times that last signature is held for a while till everything's taken care of, or a bond is in place if it's not a completed item.
Should city council be approving these before they're completed?
Yes. So final plats have a lot of signatures.
Okay.
We don't have the city engineer or the city attorney or any of these other people review them and sign them until the council has signed them. So you approve them, and then we have various steps at staff. That's where we catch it. Is the bonding in place? Are the proper documents in place? All of the different signatories have different things that they're verifying. Once all of the parties, including the mayor, have signed at the end, then it can go get recorded. And so the council approves on the front end, then we run it through staff, and then we get the mayor at the end. And the mayor's kind of the follow through on all of this, and then they can go record it.
So if there's ever any a problem or anything that need to be discussed, then it would come back to the council again before.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes there's a final plat revision, because sometimes we'll find stuff that just didn't work. That's a revision means the council approved it, but has not been recorded yet. An amendment is after it's recorded, then they have to do an amendment. But again, our code allows up to 12 months after your approval on a night. They have 12 months from tonight, other 365 days to get that thing recorded. And again, so they have that time to work through it. And so I actually encourage some of them to get their final plat approved and get everything kind of done, but it's never going to be able to go get recorded till all those signatures and accepted by the city engineer, city attorney, and the Public Works Department. And then, of course, the mayor's signature, planning commission signature is on there as well. So.
Yeah, great clarifying question. Great responses. Anything else?
Mayor, I'll make
Yes.
a motion that we approve the consent agenda as outlined.
Motion by Councilman Coates.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Second by Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to item number 6, public hearings. Just by a raise of hand, do we have any who are here to speak to public hearings tonight? Any other than applicants or applicants' representatives? Okay. So I think I'm going to forego the typical speech about public hearings. And we'll just move right along to item 6A, which is a public hearing to amend a portion of the Washington City Code, Title 9, Chapter 16, off-street parking. And before I turn this over to Community Development Director Drew Ellerman, I'll just make note that we did review this item in our workshop session previous to this. We'll probably also continue that discussion at our next workshop session. And this is only the public hearing portion. So, Mr. Ellerman.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, Washington City is wishing to amend a portion of the city code, specifically Title 9, Chapter 16, Section 5, and Section 12. Section 5 is the number of parking spaces is the title, and Section 12 is guest parking requirements for multifamily developments. The city's been needing to adjust the required parking spaces for multiple family developments for quite some time to address parking shortages under the current standards. This amendment is to change the calculation method determining the minimum number of parking stalls for multifamily projects throughout the city. Staff therefore is proposing the changes in Section 5 and 12 as follows. So on the screen, you can see we're just taking out of hotels, motels, and motorhomes, removing apartment houses in there. It just was kind of an issue that we've had. This is where one of our problems lies. So we're just going to take that out. And then right below that in the code, you'd come next onto the single family, and it used to just say single family dwellings, but this is where we're proposing to put in there 2, 3, 4, or other multifamily dwellings. So that'll be, so again, just in that area of text, you can see we've added twin home, triplex, fourplex dwellings. Then moving to the next page, the part in red is where the new standards would come into play. For all other multifamily dwelling developments, use the following chart to calculate required parking. So we state the dwelling type of unit, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom or more, and then the number of spaces for each one of those that would be required. And we did put in an asterisk here because this 2.5 can be altered. The number can be reduced to 2.0 when the development is a mix of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom or more units, as long as the number of 1-bedroom units is equal to or greater than the number of 3-bedroom units. Then they can help offset that 2.25 down to 2.0. Now that takes care of Section 5. Section 12 is the guest parking requirements for multifamily. As you can see, the strikeout, currently it's 3 1/2. They'd require 1 visitor parking for every 3.5 units in a development. Staff is proposing to change that to 3. So in essence, or 3.0. And then farther in the paragraph, you can see in red, staff wanted to add, because this is what was lacking before, that they can, in a multifamily, they can use part of a driveway area, but we wanted to find the size of that as long as it's in front of a 2-car garage, not a 1-car. And it used to be 50% of that area could be calculated toward the visitor parking. We want to actually drop that down to help create more parking a little bit in those multifamily developments to only 30% of that driveway area can be calculated toward visitor parking. And then the other 70% would have to have a stall of its own. So that's staff's proposal. At this point, the Planning Commission reviewed the request at their September 7th, 2022 meeting, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the proposed amendment to the zoning regulations by amending portions of Title 9, Chapter 16, Section 5, number of parking spaces, and Section 12, guest parking requirements for multifamily developments onto you, the City Council. And I'll be glad to answer any questions before you open your public hearing just on what's been proposed. But
Thank you, Drew. Council, I know we talked about this in our last meeting. Any comments, questions in this meeting? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone who'd like to speak to item 6A, Washington City Code Title 9, Chapter 16, off-street parking, please come forward. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to item 6B. This was also an item that we discussed in our previous work session. The vote on this will take place on October 12th. Item 6B is a public hearing for the repealing and replacing of Title III business and license regulations in the Washington City Code. Our city recorder, Tara Pence, has done excellent work on this, and I'll let you give us a summary of what you've been working on.
Can you ring that for a business license for me? It won't let.
do you have, oh, there is, Steve's gonna, is that it?
No. Well, it will be.
Your work on the seminary code was also fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. Hold on. I think he's trying to get it. We can't connect for some reason.
It's probably all that bandwidth for Princess and the Bride at the park
Oh,
outside.
they're selling it. I'm going to quickly start, just in an effort to save time, and since we've already discussed it once. So we're working on repealing and replacing the entire business license code. It has not been done since 1989. There are several sections of it that once he gets those pulled up in the center, we've added several specialty businesses. They were never in our code before, but state law has some specific guidelines that people have to follow. So we wanted to incorporate those into our code. And once those are in there, as state law changes, those will automatically update, so they will not have to come back to you again. In addition, there are no changes whatsoever to the alcoholic beverage, the residential solicitation, or the sexually oriented businesses. We've just carried those over, but because it's a repeal and replace of the whole code, it just really, we couldn't keep the numbering correct doing it without replacing the whole thing. There are some additional conditions too. Of course, we've discussed already the home occupations, short-term rentals. It's not actually changing the code for that, but rather just the fee for those. And then tobacco sales was just a small cleanup. We had a problem with one portion of the ordinance was contradicting another. So as we discussed before, home occupations, state law passed an ordinance. Basically, there's a Class A license, which does not require licensing through a home occupation within the cities. The way our code was written previously, all of them would fall under a Class A, but it was not allowing for people to actually do anything out of their home. So we now have a Class B license, which will allow people to use a portion of their home for a business.
with some specific guidelines. We've discussed in depth having no street side parking for those home occupations. And if you want me to read that little section I can. All vehicles used for business purposes must be parked on a resident's property. No street side parking will be permitted. No industrial equipment may be stored or parked in residential zones. Only one vehicle and one trailer used for business purposes may be parked within view of the street, and all other vehicles and trailers for business purposes must be parked in a storage garage or behind a fence or otherwise shielded from public view. And then in addition, I know we're having another workshop on this, so this may change slightly, but no more than one patron's vehicle possibly permitted to park at the residential property for businesses that do have customers such as hair salons, and we do have a lot of people that do design and consulting that will have people come to their homes. And then the last thing, occult arts, we are now requiring them to get a specific license, and they are at the suggestion of the state and our code compliance. We want them to get a BCI background check. We do have a couple other businesses that are required to get those. They're fairly easy, but because of the type of business, we felt that would be appropriate. And any other questions? We did clean up our fee structure. There was a lot of things that fall under business licensing. We'd had them all labeled out. We've now just got a smaller category with the specialty business licenses. It was the last page of your PowerPoint with the one increase of $50 for a short-term rental to $100 per year.
Great.
So
I know this council really appreciated some of the red tape you were cutting on some redundancy with contractor business licensing. Can you just give a concise statement on that for the public?
You bet. We had previously required all businesses coming into Washington City providing a service to get a separate business license with Washington City, even if they were licensed in a different area. So as long as they are licensed in the city they're based out of, they can come into Washington City. If there are a couple of different licenses, if they have like illicit discharge, we still will require them to go through Public Works. But otherwise, we will take reciprocal licensing from St. George, what have you. And the same thing with contractors. All of our contractors currently have to get a Washington City business license. If they are not located in Washington City, it is fee waived, but I know it is a lot of work for those contractors. So if they've already licensed in a city and have a copy of that as well as their contractor's license, we will be honoring those going forward, and they won't have to get a separate license with us.
Tara, is that as long as they have a license with a city within the county or the state?
It's the state.
Okay,
So
thank
if we do have some contractors that come in from out of state for specific businesses, like the bigger box companies, and they know that they have to get a license within the state. So if they're just coming in for a small job, they automatically know they need to come with us and provide a copy of their state contractor's license.
Perfect. Any other questions for our city recorder? Any comments on this?
I was going to say that's a great change about the licenses for the contractors. And I had one other question, if you don't mind. I read this whole thing last night. It was thrilling, by the way. And
I bet it was.
I had one question, but I can't find it right now. It had to do with short-term rentals, and it said something about needed to hire a local management company or something like that. Can you, if you're a local person and you own a short-term rental, can you manage it yourself, or do you have to hire a management company? Maybe I misunderstood it, but it almost sounded like you couldn't manage it yourself, that you have to hire a management company.
Yeah, that one's kind of tough because what that falls, it's actually in the PUD ordinance that we required that. We had circumstances when we started letting vacation rentals in that we were having people that lived in Logan or in Idaho, or even one case, I had a lady live in Calgary, Canada.
Oh, wow.
You know, had a place down here. We just said, if I've got a problem, we need somebody here within, we narrowed it from 20 miles to, or 20 minutes to 20 miles, or then no, we went to actually to the county. There has to be a responsible person. So yes, the quick answer is yes, but for informational purposes, that person has to reside in the county.
Okay, so if you live in Washington County and you own a short-term rental, you can manage it yourself without hiring an outside management company.
You can if you own one of those, but if you're in one of these HOAs, we want one responsible
changed-
party.
We changed that.
Did we? Was it the person?
Yep.
Okay, that's right. We did when we updated
You
the
can do
PUD.
it.
You can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, I just wasn't fully understanding it when I read it, but okay.
Yeah.
So the only thing I have, and I think we'll just work with you on, is I think we need to work on that language of the car and the vehicle, but we have another work session we can work on in between, but,
Perfect.
and I would give it to you now, and I just don't know. So I'm thinking about it, but I think we need to tweak it a little bit.
Of course. Yep.
So.
I'm happy to take any input on those, so.
Thank you for your excellent work on that. I know the council will have a little bit of feedback for you between now and our next workshop, and we'll vote on this in a few weeks. Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the repealing and replacing of Title III business and license regulations in the Washington City Code, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing. We'll move along to item number 6C. This is public hearing and consideration to approve an ordinance for zone change request Z-22-19 from residential agricultural 2 acres, RA2, to a planned unit development, commercial, PUD-C, Lot 2 of Jolly Farms Minor, located at 840 South, 1100 East. The applicant is Ken Jolly, Sue and Travis Gates. Our Community Development Director, Drew Ellerman, will present on this item.
Just give me a minute, Mayor. I want to kind of go to the one that's got, well, I think that's it. So we'll just go back to that top one as our starting exhibit. Hopefully nobody's getting dizzy. Applicant's requesting approval of a zone change of approximately 3.45 acres. The property is located approximately 840 South, 100 East. The requested change is from the current residential agricultural 2 acre minimum, or the RA2 zoning district, to the proposed plan unit development commercial. The PUDC request is for the purpose of developing the acreage into a storage unit facility in the form of a main office, which is a 1,200 square foot building at the entrance, and 357 storage units in a variety of sizes as per the exhibits. Some units will be entered from the outside and others will be entered internally through an interior corridor or hallway. There will also be outdoor vehicle storage as well. There was provided a sufficient landscape plan as shown in the exhibits. The office elevation finishes are attractive for the area. The project appears to be of value to the city. Surrounding zoning of the proposed development is RA2 to the north and south, industrial to the west, and R16 to the east. The parking provided meets the city code for the project. A block wall will surround the development on the north, east, and south sides. There on the street, on the west side, which will be a wrought iron fence with associated entrance and exit gates, which will run parallel with the street. Staff supports the project at this location, with the building's layout and exterior finishes being aesthetically attractive. The amenities are sufficient and will be of value to the project. Planning Commission reviewed the request and held a public hearing at their September 7th, 2022 meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of Z-22-19 for the zone change request from the current residential agricultural 2 acre minimum to the proposed plan unit development commercial. This is on to you, the City Council, and based on the following findings, subject to the conditions in the report. So you can see the different layout. I'll try to zoom in a bit here and you can.
Drew, is 840 South not a part of this project? A continuation across the wash? Am I misoriented?
I think this is a little south of.
Well,
you mean on the? No, I see what you're saying. That's been changed. You mean the road on the master street
Well,
plan?
I'm just showing it's 840 South. Is that not planning to continue across?
It's not. That's been changed up to Foothill, and then we're going to cross the Mill Creek at Foothill north up. If you follow up 100 East a little farther, and then it'll shoot across to the west there, and then into that development by Costco south of Walmart and Home Depot. That's where they're going to now do the main crossing. So 840 will stop where it is right now on that side of the creek on the east side in that development. And that'll be the end on 840. Yeah, because it did show on the master road transportation right now. They got to get it updated and fixed. It went right through this. Is it still on here then?
No, it's not on there.
Okay.
But I just remember from the past that that was a concern, is that that needed to be approved. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to
and
make
that's
sure.
why we got it off. And so 840 will not be. That's just kind of the address at this particular location that fits. So you can see the variety of units within this, just kind of scaling through. Then you'll have storage parking on the perimeter there and also on the east boundary. We'll kind of scroll down and give you the this will be the look from the street. It'll just be kind of a, it's kind of fitting for the area. You got the roping arena across the street. It's just kind of more country right down through there. And so I think it was a good choice. And so this will be the main office with the project. You don't need to see the interior there. This is
Where's the block wall going to be located? It'll
all
be
the block
way
walls will be on the north around the perimeter, not on the street frontage. The block
north,
wall you see
east,
here
and
is
west,
building.
south. Yeah, so I'm just clarifying where those walls are, because per our code, commercial, they have to have a block wall all the way around, right? 6-foot block wall. So
Right.
I would
If
assume
it
it's on
borders
the
a different, zone.
north,
So
the east, and the south. The front can have different.
right. And that's what this is. So you have on the north, the east, and the south will all be a block. In fact, they gave you I think there should be an exhibit right here. So this will be the wall basically north, east, and south that you see here. It'll be kind of a mix between, I think it's mostly going to be smooth block, but then they're going to put a band or two of the split face in there to give it a little bit of a pop. And that'll go around again on those other three sides. The street frontage will basically be like we saw up here in this exhibit, wrought iron, and then the building, and then the gates going in and out. And again, these are the colors of the storage units themselves, the ones you will see. It'll drive around, so it's not just, I appreciate them mixing some grays and some, some red in there, and then some dark gray, light gray, etc., to give it a little more pop and not just stale looking storage.
I also like that that barn looking building that they have there, the office. I think that's a perfect elevation for that area right there.
Got some character,
it's got
doesn't
some
it?
character, and I really appreciate that.
So this is 357 storage units of varying size.
Yes. They probably go anywhere from usually a 5x5 is usually the small ones you find in there, up to probably 12x16s or whatever they may be, but they'll just vary in different units. So. Anything else I can answer for the council?
I'll tell you something that I appreciate about our planning commission is, I don't know if you noticed number 10 there on the conditions, but the planning commission added number 10 there. A caretaker's quarter is approved to be a permitted use at this location if so desired in the future. So, some of these storage facilities have caretaker units to, take care of security and that. And the Gateses weren't, planning on doing that. But I think that's pretty good forward thinking of the planning commission to say, hey, if you decide to do that in the future, then it's a good, we'll approve it. So that impressed me.
So this office is prepared for a residential area as well, like living
It
quarters?
can be at a later, that top area could be changed if they wanted to. So, but if you look at the floor plan, the area, it's all office, but I always feel more comfortable when there's a caretaker quarters at any of these. I just think it helps make them a lot better of a business. So we I was glad that got put in there as well. So
Yeah, you see that at Mini Storage up the street in a few places.
yeah.
And that's great. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ellerman. Good comments, good questions, council. This is a public hearing, so anyone who would like to speak to an ordinance for zone change request Z-22-19, I'm opening the public hearing now. Please come forward and make your comments. Okay, seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing. Is the applicant or an applicant's representative here? Okay. I've closed the public hearing. We don't have an applicant, but we have a thorough application, and we have staff recommendation, planning commission recommendation. Council, I'll turn to you for further deliberation and or a vote.
Here, I'll make a motion that we approve the commercial PUDC for the planned unit development commercial PUDC with the findings and conditions provided by staff, with the additional condition 11 that the block wall be located on, a 6-foot block wall be located on the northeast and south side of the project.
I have a motion on item 6C to approve with conditions. I have a second.
I'll second that, Mayor.
A second by Councilman Ivy. This is an ordinance, so we'll go roll call vote. Ivy?
Aye.
Henderson?
Aye.
Casperson?
Aye.
Coates?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 6D. This is a public hearing and consideration to approve an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 6, Chapter 3 in the Washington City Code. Again, cleanup work to the city ordinance. Appreciate your work on that, City Recorder Tara Pence. Give us a summary on this item.
All right. We discussed this in detail at your previous workshop, so I'll just kind of hit the highlights. We are setting some normal burial hours. The sexton will can override those after we take the burial report. Sorry. After we get the stat sheets, the sexton can make a determination if he wants to bring those in later or earlier. There is a late arrival charge for those. In addition, we are allowing for extenuating circumstances in plots. Currently, we have one person per plot. You can do up to 3 cremation urns or an infant and 2 urns. It's also an adult and an infant or 2 infants with this new change. We are allowing upright and flat stones throughout. We currently do that anyway, but we just wanted it in the code so people knew that they were allowed to do different headstone types. We are setting we have a policy in place currently with how long people can leave their decorations at the discretion of our sexton. If things start looking poorly after 5 days, they can go out and remove those. And also everything must be affixed to the headstone in order to be able to maintain it properly. Lastly, we will only allow one individual to purchase up to 2 plots. As I previously discussed with you, we have a lot of plots that have been purchased historically in a person's name. We have no idea who they are, so they own like 10, 15, 20 plots, and we don't have a way to find out who those belong to, so those will eliminate any of those problems that we have. And then also, any plots that are not used by that person must be sold back to the city for the price that they paid. And then we've changed our fee structure. We discussed this last time. Our current non-resident rate is $1,000, which is actually cheaper than the adjacent city's resident rate. So we're recommending increasing our non-resident rate to match those of the adjacent cities, while only increasing the resident rate $100, or just still significantly lower than the other cities. We are recommending a no-fee internment cost for infants, and as well as a specialty discount for veterans and 15-year plus full-time employees. Any questions? That was super quick, sorry.
Can I ask a question just out of curiosity?
You bet.
Is there a maximum size on the monuments that you can do? I've been to some cemeteries where they have really big ones.
They do. They have a footprint. They didn't come, but I think I have it right here in my notes. They do have like a size limitation, regardless for a you can do a double headstone over 2 plots. That has a size limit, the depth and a height.
Okay.
But you can have a bench as well. So I think the maximum height, 84, yeah, it's 84 inches wide for a double, and they do have a maximum height because
Couldn't
we've
do
had
one
people.
of these giant ones that you see.
No,
huh?
we've got some that have wanted to do like almost a house, but no, there's a limit to how big that crane
Okay,
can be.
thank you.
Yep. And I think that someone asked last time, we currently have 978 plots available. So we've sold almost half of that new section. So.
Further comments, questions? Tara, I just see a lot of wisdom in the recommendations you've made to the council, and I just know how well you and your staff take care of those when they need these services. So we really appreciate you. We really appreciate the Parks Department, and thank you for being such good stewards.
Thank you.
Of this. This is a public hearing. If any in the audience would like to speak to an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 6, Chapter 3 in the Washington City Code titled Cemetery, please come forward and speak now. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn to the council for further discussion and or motion.
Mayor, I'll make the motion, but just want to clarify that in the cemetery plot fees, the new price of $600 for resident and non-resident 2,000, that those numbers are stricken through. Yeah, just want to make note that those are the accurate prices, even though there's just a line through them.
Good catch.
So I will make a motion to approve an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 6, Chapter 3 in the Washington City Code.
Have a motion to approve by Councilmember Ivy.
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Casperson. This is an ordinance, so we'll go roll call vote. Henderson?
Aye.
Casperson?
Aye.
Coates?
Aye.
Ivy?
Aye.
And that is approved unanimously. Thank you. We'll move along to item 6E. This is a public hearing and consideration to approve a resolution amending the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. Finance Director Brian Brown will present on this item.
Mayor and council, staff is proposing a budget amendment for the fiscal year 22-23. And so this budget amendment, we try to do them quarterly or when necessary. And so the budget amendments items are brought before the city manager, and then if he feels that necessary, then we go ahead and make those budget amendments or propose those. And this budget amendment is all regarding golf course. As you can see, it's all in the general fund, and it increases the budget by $164,000. And so, like I said, these were requested by the golf course.
Can I make a quick comment while you're there? Sorry to stop your mojo there. You were in a good run, but let me explain just a little bit before we get too far. The bridge that we repaired, the railing on hole 6 had rotted out and it was in disrepair. And then we had a windstorm that actually took a piece of it out. So it was a real safety hazard. That's a really large drop off of hole 6 into the canyon. So that's already been repaired. I authorized that as an emergency to make sure we had a safety issue fixed. So that one really is there. The others, we kind of had a miscommunication when we worked on the budget, and we didn't include these items for the golf course. So I went out there and I went with a couple of the finance staff when we did the inventory. And the hope was that we could get by to the next budget year and just include them then. If any of you have been out there or haven't been out there, you really ought to go to our golf course maintenance yard. But they have taken the equipment they have and they have stretched it beyond its real useful life. And when I went out there, I really recognized it's time to make these now. And that, and then the additional lead time that we have to have on equipment right now, some of these will take some time. And so my recommendation is that we approve these now. So it's a little bit odd to see equipment like this as a budget amendment, but that's the reasoning. The golf course has done a tremendous job. They've been under a lot of additional play. We did $195,000 more last year than we did the previous year in green fees, and that was on top of a record year in 2020. So they're doing a lot with a little, but we get to a point where not having the right equipment really makes us inefficient and we waste a lot of staff time. So that's my recommendation.
But, I'm gonna just jump into, sorry, Brian, but, I'm just impressed with the way the golf course is operating right now. There were many years when that was running in the red, and now it's running in the black. And so they're not used to even having a few dollars to contribute to necessary repairs. So appreciate your foresight in handling that, manager. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up is what Jeremy talked about. I asked him to go out when they did the inventory, because every year we do an annual inventory, and I asked him, I said, you really need to go to the golf course, because I've been out there and did the inventory. I'm like,
I think he's out there most Friday afternoons, but I could be wrong.
I'm gonna say, was it a fight to get him out there?
but the maintenance is kind of hidden back there. So
Just
you really-
don't make him go, don't ask him to go inventory Brian Head, okay? He'd be happy to go there too.
So a few days ago, this is funny that this came up. Well, maybe about a week ago, I live somewhat close to the golf course there, and one of the employees was driving up Fairway Drive in one of the old mules, and that thing looked like it had seen better days, and it sounded like it had seen better days. And I thought to myself, these guys need to get a new mule. That thing is embarrassing. So here it is.
That's probably 4 mules that they have been combining parts all on parts. until we have one left. That's
It looked
they,
like
they
it.
really do a tremendous job. If you know Brian, for him to say that we need to spend some money is that's a big accomplishment for them. So it's necessary.
They really, the first time I ever went out there, they had 4 pieces of equipment, and they like, we have these 4 to make this one run. And I'm like, okay, so we're just hanging on to these, and we're going to keep them on the inventory just so you can have that one piece of equipment. And that's, they, like you said, they've stretched it because in times past they haven't had the funds.
Great stewards of taxpayer dollars for sure.
So that's what we're proposing for this budget amendment. Do you have any questions?
Council.
Yes, I do. And Mr. Ed, you answered most of them. I wondered, again, like you said, why the first quarter we were having a discussion about equipment, but you've answered that, and I feel good about that. I'm just, and I do, I've actually been to the maintenance shed a couple of times and observed that they're very efficient with what they have, and I appreciate what they do there. I'm just wondering, where this is a mid-year budget amendment for this equipment, how will that affect their budget for next year?
It won't. So this will be just a single budgeted item, and then next year we'll look at it completely with new eyes.
Is it
So
possible
doesn't
that their
increase
budget
next
would be
year's
less next year because of this?
Yes. Well, let's put it this way.
be.
They're
It
one-time
won't
expense.
necessarily have this increase in it. It will go back to the base, and then they will request what other additional items they need for next year.
So these are more one-time expenses, where their operating expenses will stay the same. So next year, more than likely, they should not have any one-time expenses.
So when a department has a one-time expense, like equipment would be, they figure it into that fiscal year budget, they get the money for that, they buy it, and then it doesn't show up again on their future budget requests until the need is there again.
Now, one thing Jeremy wants to look at is, or the city manager, he wants to look at is kind of gate. So for example, if we know a lawnmower lasts this many years, kind of put together a schedule to say a lawnmower should last, so we can kind of project and say, we know the equipment should last, this type of equipment should last this long, so we can start projecting out and say, we know we should expect some of these expenses come up this year because of the useful life of the equipment.
I do know one way that we could save some money here, though. I have a nephew that has 4 mules, and we'd sell them for a lot less than that, or at least I would.
I think those are mules with hooves, not tires.
I think the feed's more than that. So I do have a question though. Does that really get us 4 mules for 30,000?
$8,000 each.
Is that what they're running?
I asked.
It seems little. It doesn't seem like enough to me, but I haven't bought a mule lately, so I'm just.
So Jeff stopped by my office, the golf maintenance, and said, when are these items going to be? And I explained that we're going to council this week. And he said, did you put the amounts in there? And I said, yeah. And he didn't seem to have a problem with it.
Okay, I just want to clarify. I just don't want to.
I don't know what a mule costs.
I think you can buy a 2-wheel drive mule, the ones that would be used at the golf course. If I remember right, we were looking for one just last year for a girls' camp up on Cedar Mountain, and I think you can buy a 2-wheel drive for about 7,500. So with the dump
Okay.
bed, the same ones they use at the golf course. So.
Well, and then my next question is, it seems like we're giving them everything they need. So we're just like not phasing it in right now. We're just going to buy it all new and then work on a phasing plan later.
Yes. So we also, to go along with that, a lot of our equipment is purchased on the state contract, so it has negotiated pricing for the entire state. So often we get a little better pricing than you would get if you bought one for yourself. But yeah, in this case, we wish we would have phased it in. But like the mayor mentioned, there have been a lot of years where the golf course is just really trying to get by. And so this will get us caught back up, and then we'll go from there with sort of a phased approach. But this is a little bit of a catch up just to get them whole again.
I just Googled Kawasaki mules are about 7,800 to answer the question. So it's within the ballpark, I think.
And with the state contract, generally, it'll probably be a little less.
Great. Further discussion on this item? Thank you, Brian. This is a public hearing. So anyone in the audience who'd like to come forward and speak about this resolution amending the 22-23 fiscal year budget, please come forward now. Seeing nobody coming forward, I will close the public hearing. And if there's no further discussion, I will call for a motion to approve a resolution amending the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget by increasing the general fund by $164,000. Is there further discussion?
So we did the public hearings. All right, it went so fast.
Call for a motion.
So I'm just clarifying, we've done the public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay, it went so
We've done
fast.
5 of them.
That's what I was waiting for. I'm like,
I opened it and closed it and called for a motion to increase the general fund by $164,000.
I'll make a motion, we increase the fund to $164,000 for the items outlined in the discussion.
Thank you, Councilman Coates. I was sweating there for a minute, wondering if I had missed something as your mayor. Can I get a second on this item?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Henderson. We'll go roll call on this. Henderson.
Aye.
Coates.
Aye.
Ivy.
Aye.
Casperson.
Aye.
The budget is amended as presented. Thank you. We'll move along to item number 7. This is a preliminary plat. This is item 7A is consideration to approve a preliminary plat for Burke Springs Phase 3 located at approximately Crimson Creek Drive and Rimview Drive. The applicant is Mike Stewart. I'll invite our city planner, Eldon Gibb, to come forward. And while he's coming forward, I will just make 2 comments for the record. Is for preliminary plats, the public hearings occur at the Planning Commission level, not at the City Council level. Thank you for those who serve on that board. And then also, I will also just note that the mayor and council has received and read an email from the Coral Canyon HOA board on this item. I just want that to be on the record so that that board knows that that we received that and we've read that. We'll consider that. Eldon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. At the address previously stated, this particular subdivision is proposing 26 lots on an area covering 7.624 acres. The zoning designation at this location is single-family residential 8,000 square foot minimum building lots, which is the R18 zoning. The surrounding zoning is planned community development to the north and west, and single-family residential 8,000 square foot lots to the east and south. The proposed subdivision does conform to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements, and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval with conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined. The Planning Commission did review this request on September 7th, 2022, and unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for the Burke Springs Phase 3 subdivision based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions as stated in your report. And I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Eldon, did you see the public comment on it? There's a lot of concern about the detention pond not being improved like it was supposed to, and I'm just I'll admit I'm lost on exactly what was supposed to be improved before this and not. I don't know what agreement was with the city. I think I need some more background on that was agreed upon. Do we have that?
I don't have any back history on that. I don't know if John would either, with him being fairly new into Public Works.
What I read was that those improvements would need to include a cemented area, and I don't have it all, Councilman, but
I think the question I have is it going to be improved as part of this project, or is it going to be was it a part of another project that was agreed upon that isn't complete? And so that's the question I have, because if it's part of this project, it makes sense that we're in the process of the preliminary plat, and then these conditions are put on that staff would make sure these improvements are done before the project's complete. I'm just trying to understand the timeline based on what's happening.
So this is Burke Springs Phase 3. And I believe that the answer to your question is that this improvement was meant to be as part of Phase 2. And so the concern expressed is that it doesn't appear to have been fully completed yet, and they're asking the council to consider that as they take action.
And it's Coral Canyon that's asking for that improvement before we grant, or before we approve Burke Springs Phase 3.
Correct.
Have there been homes built in Phase 2? They're still working on it.
Is it final platted?
Good evening.
We couldn't let you get too comfortable there, John.
I know. Geez.
Would you just state your name for the record?
John Hinkey, New Development Project Manager for Public Works. Burke Springs Phase 2 is currently under construction. We are far from being complete with that section of the subdivision. So the improvements to that storm drain basin that they're talking about, probably they just have not been completed this time. We're working on water installation, so we haven't got around to that yet. So it's not under an improvement bond. It'll be, when we get to the end, it'll go under a warranty bond. So
it's not final platted.
It hasn't been signed off if we have done a final plat. I don't recall.
John, let me just read and let you consider just the main 3 points that the board had sent over to this council. All regarding water retention, it looks like from Phase 2. The first point is clearing and removal of rocks, sand, and other debris to properly form a water retention basin. Maybe they mean detention, probably detention. Item 2, installing a cement drainage flow to retain high water runoff in the basin, allowing the water to drain at a slower appropriate rate. And then the third point they make in this letter is placing rocks or other landscape material to shape the basin and finalize the landscape to maintain a natural look to the basin. And as I'm looking through this, do we know if these are conditions from Phase 2 approval?
Yes, those would be under the Phase 2. And those are agreements between the developer and Coral Canyon's HOA and stuff for the improvement of that basin.
That's not part of their approval for the Phase 2.
Phase 2.
But plat, is it a condition on the plat approval?
I don't recall it being.
So there is a contract
a separate contract aside from,
Between the HOA and this developer. So
Okay.
that was provided in your email that included the comments.
So just so I'm totally aware, so the HOA is asking that we don't approve another phase until a contract that they have, it's a private contract, nothing with the city, right? Is completed. They want us to hold up construction on another phase until a private contract. I'm just making sure I'm understanding. Is that correct? Your
That is
understanding?
correct, yeah.
and this has gone through staff developer and plan commission, and we've reviewed the LID, the detention.
Yes.
It meets our standards.
For phase 2 and for phase 3, yes.
Yeah, I guess my question is phase 3 go into that detention basin at all, or does it go somewhere else?
Phase 3 is on the preliminary plat, you can see those drain into
Right,
the
but do
curb.
they drain into the phase 2 then into this? Because if they're not any part of this, I don't know if we should even be,
I'd have to trace the drainage pattern again.
because
but
again,
it
I don't
may-
want, I don't think we should hold phase 3 up if none of its water goes through 2. You can hold 2 up at its final plat if we want, but
It shows it as stormwater detention on this plat, but I don't know if it's all of it or.
that's what I said, but I don't know if it continues through then 2 and then into this, or if it goes,
I'm sure it
if
does.
it goes
at
the
some
other
point.
direction.
My guess is that it does to some degree go over there as a
And then John, if you don't mind, maybe if you'll stay on call, don't get too comfortable. I see the applicant, Mike Stewart here. I'll invite the applicant to come over and speak to the council about, Drew, are you done with your presentation on this?
I think unless
Or Eldon?
have anything else.
Mike, will you come forward and talk to retention on your phase 2 and phase 3? And we're considering phase 3 tonight. We recognize that, but
Thank you for that opportunity. I've gotten an email, a couple prior emails asking when is the completion of that done? And the last one I responded to, I said, hey, we're hoping to be done with all of our construction. This is the very tail end of it, because we want that to be the last thing. We're cleaning up as we pull equipment off of there. During construction, stuff goes in there. So we want that to be the very last thing we do. The concrete stuff is already on site, the parts. I always thought that we would not get final approval or CO on phase 2 without that done. So I guess I am worried about, we'd have to, because it's part of our construction drawing. So I just figured all those improvements have to be done.
Yeah, they have to
So
be
it's
done
still a
before
work in progress then?
Oh yeah, like our water lines are done. Electricians are coming in to do the underground utility. So it's still under construction. So I think I told them we were shooting for end of October. I think the last email I got, they says, we want to for sure by this deadline. I'm like, we can't go in and do that until after the gas company utility. And right now they're struggling. So we're doing the best and the fastest we can, but that for sure is one of the last things we do.
you're a little bit on an island there, right? You're on an island of
Totally.
private property in a really nice HOA that cares,
Yes.
that
No, we
deeply cares about
love-
their community. So you can see kind of where
Absolutely.
they're coming from, and we, of course, as council, we see where you're coming from.
For sure. And phase 3 has its own 2 detention basins. There is no flow to that. I think we have our own 2 on there.
They have, are they detention or retention?
Detention.
So they do
I always
eventually flow
catch
there.
myself because I have to think about.
So it eventually does flow there, correct?
Well, it flows a different way and down.
It
that
goes to the
direction.
west and the other detention's to the east?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And also the improvements. I mean, we're excited. I think we were bringing some table by the improvements. Currently, there is no detaining at all. It just is a straight flow through. And so we're coming in and putting that and making it so there is no more further problems downstream. So obviously we want to make it better than when we came there, so. But we are trying to do as fast as can. It's just going to be one of the very last things we're shooting for.
So Drew, do we know that that's a condition for phase 2, that the detention be done? Is that was that a
We know
condition?
that, yes. We have the contract, and we have, that contract was entered in city council minutes.
Further questions for the applicant? Mike, is there anything you'd like to share with the council?
No, I appreciate this opportunity. And who do I talk to about buying some of those mules?
Me, right after, me.
Okay.
They don't come with hay, though.
Anyways, I need a couple for an RV park. So anyways, I was going to say that, but I appreciate you guys' time. And again, we want to be as good neighbors as possible. So like I said, I thought for sure it's hostage. We have to get that fixed before we're approved anyway. So at least that's been my idea.
So thank you. Thank you.
And Mayor, just a comment, if you don't mind.
Please, Councilman.
You know, I listened to, I was here live for Planning Commission and listened to the recording, which is so convenient just to have those right there with that. That's just, it was a great thing to do. But the one thing that's always confusing is retention, it absorbs. Detention is let out slowly. So it's, those are two things that you always kind of think, now which is it? But Mayor, what I wanted to mention is that a lot of our great homeowners from Coral Canyon were here, and they were frustrated and concerned because they spent money where they thought they were buying a view lot. And we're in city government, so we understand that that's a hard thing for them to guarantee when they don't own all the ground around it that could possibly inhibit their views. But I just wanted to make comment that as a city, we understand that frustration, that concern. And I would just say going forward that, you know, if you really take some time, do some due diligence, you may come to the conclusion that you really can't have that guaranteed. And I just wanted, you know, the homeowners that were here, you know, my heart went out to them. This is a good project. You know, we're happy. We know Mr. Stewart, he does a great job in our community, and we support the project, but it was just one of those things that was just a little bit, I don't know, sad's probably not the right word, but they're just concerned. They love their homes and their views, and just probably maybe share some due diligence going forward. And the last thing, just for clarification, so even though Coral Canyon has detention ponds, this project couldn't use those because it's a different project. Is that correct, or is that?
No, that's incorrect. Drew, if you can zoom in on the map, you'll see here where the detention basin is located.
And this is one that's in Coral existing right now?
It's on Coral Canyon PCD lots right there. See right there on 320, then 321. That's it.
Okay.
The agreement is that Burke Springs to the next door is going to come in and improve and upgrade that detention
existing
basin so that Burke Springs can flow their waters into it.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't exactly sure on that, whether they could use it or not, but that makes good sense.
Council, further discussion on this item?
So only one of them is existing, the other one is not.
Yes, I should have added so that phase 2 can use that basin. That basin will not apply to phase 3. Phase 3 will have to construct its own.
Okay. So council, I'm ready to make a motion unless there's further discussion. I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for Burke Springs Phase 2 located approximately Crimson Creek Drive and Rim View Drive.
I have a motion by Councilmember Coates.
I'll second that.
A second by Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The preliminary plat for Burke Springs Phase 3 is approved unanimously. Thank you. Item number 8, Finance. 8A, Washington City Financial Quarterly Report. Finance Director Brian Brown. We're on the edge of our seat.
Hey, this is my favorite time of month or year.
Quarterly, it's a
Yeah,
quarter.
quarterly. So we are wrapping up fiscal year 21, 22. I call it just fiscal year 22. And currently we're preparing the financial statements for the audit. So everything I've shared is for the complete year. It's not audited financials though. So what I'll do is I'll go through some of the highlights from this year that we can, and I'll show you what we have so far. And then as we finish up with the audit, then they'll bring their presentation. So if you'll change to the next page, this is a graph or a bar chart. It shows all the funds and all the expenses for all the funds in the cities, just so you can kind of see. It's a busy chart, but just so you can kind of see where the revenues and expenses are. But if you go to the next page, Steve, what I did is I broke down the general fund by the top 5 revenues and expenses. So if you can see the taxes, that mainly comprises of property taxes and sales tax. Now, if in fiscal year 22, when you look at tax, it is down, but what we used to do is we used to record the highway tax in the general fund and then transfer it to the street fund. Well, in 22, we quit doing that. So we recorded the highway tax directly to the street fund. So the result of that is the highway tax this year was 1.8 million that was not recorded in the general fund. We just put it straight to street tax because all we were doing is posting and then transferring it.
Can you say that amount again?
1.8 million. License and permits, as you can see, it's down, but that's tied to bill on the next graph as we go on. We'll
Councilman Henderson.
I was just gonna say, so that had you continued booking it the way that you were, that would show 17.8 or something like that, right?
Close to 18. License and permits, it's down a little. It's due to the building permits being down, and when we go into the next page, I'll show you that. Intergovernmental government, that's your federal and state grants. And then charges for service, that's mainly your golf course, your community center. And as we know, they had, Jeremy already mentioned, golf course was up 195,000 and community center was up about 350,000. And then the fines and forfeitures are court.
Was that 350,000 for the quarter?
For the year.
Okay.
For the whole year. And then down below, I show the expenses for the general, top 5 expenses for the general fund for the last 3 years. So Steve will go to the next page. As I mentioned.
Hold on, Brian.
Okay.
So just my brain's working here, and I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but how many years do we have left on our bond for the community center?
I think it's 27, but I can email it to you.
So 5 or so years. It's fine. I'm just rough numbers. Is there when our revenues are over on those certain items, which are we still in the red on that community center each year, or
community centers? It's all recorded through the MBA. The debt for the debt service is all in the.
Yeah, but my question is,
the answer is that the community center's never been in the black, and it.
Okay.
We never really budgeted it to be that way, but we try to have it bring in a certain percentage of his expenses.
Okay.
But it's the kind of asset that will.
Yeah, I thought it was that way, so I just needed some clarification.
Traditionally, they've covered about 60% of their expenses, right around there.
Yeah, if we were making extra money and we were paying our debt services, should we be paying off our debt sooner? Is all I was getting at. But if we're still in the red on that itself, then. Makes sense.
And you can see down below Parks and Recs, their expenses are also up too. So any questions? As I mentioned, the building permits are down this year. Although they're down, this still was the second best year we've ever had with building permits. So there you can see the graph of building permits forever. And then if you move on, the RAP tax. So the RAP tax, I think it was a 10-year, they would put it for 10 years. We're 7 years into it. Here's our total collections, our total distributions, and the ending balance. And that resolution R2019-21, it committed funds for cultural facilities and arts, and so that the funds committed to that is $648,000. So that's where we sit at on the RAP tax. If you go to the next page, and interest has always been fun ever since for the last few years.
Can we, before you go on, can we go back to the cultural facility and arts?
Mm-hmm.
So when I read the ordinance for that, from what I read, it seems like you can use it for that, but you don't have to. It's up to the city council to be able to say whether they wanted to do that or not.
Yeah, that's always the council's decision. We set that aside a few years ago just to create a nest egg for a fine arts building facility. But yeah, I think it's strictly up to the council. How is maybe I stepped in there, Mayor, but.
So if there was, let's say, I mean, we just keep moving forward with putting money aside. even though that might not be we might not get a building in the future.
I
for
hope
them.
we do. I think we got to save money and hope for the best. I mean, at least if we don't, even if, say, in 10 years, this is how I look at it. In 10 years, if the RAP tax is done and they don't continue it, then we have a good down payment or 20% on maybe a building that we want to bond for or something like that for the arts community. So that's kind of how I've thought about it. I thought it was great when Councilwoman Granger brought it up. I like this. I like having it. Is there, I guess my question is,
I would rather try to use something that we already have rather than add additional expense and costs to taxpayers. So rather than build a brand new, really expensive building that's going to have costs associated with it, try to use a building that we have already access to is what my thoughts are on it.
I think those are great thoughts. I think we're just out of space with the building facilities we have for, I mean, there is some stuff that we're utilizing with the old church and those, but I agree with you. My understanding is we're out of space right now. And so we're going to need, if we want to go to I would say another level of arts, do we need another facility? Now, I'm not saying we build like a massive orchestra building, maybe it's just a small building that can help facilitate some of that stuff, or purchase an existing building that we can find in the city that works good for our use. That's kind of how I've looked at it.
And there's also some possibility, Councilwoman, that if things work out and some of the things that we've discussed where we can acquire space, then we could go a different route and then just use this money, put it back in and use it anywhere we want. But I'm hoping that in the meanwhile, we can acquire buildings that would be near donation. So that's what we're hoping for. But I understand your concern. You don't want to debt, you don't want the city citizens' money to be spent frivolously and without good reason. So I appreciate your comment on that.
Another thought I just had is that we could, save for the best. And if, like you said, you get a building that is donated or a really good price, then you can move these funds to other needs as well that potentially we need in the arts and parks. We are always short on money for those kind of things all across the board. So
let me ask a question. Is there any limit to the amount of time we can hold RAP tax funds?
I'd have to check on that, but I don't think there is, but I'll double check.
So like with other types of funds that we collect, we have so many years to expend them, but
I don't think this is like impact fees or those. That may be because they're committed, but I'll double check.
So this expires in 2025. Is that what you understand as well, Brian?
Well, it started in 2016. I knew it was for 10 years, so yeah, that'd be.
At which point
They could always
the voters
renew.
will vote
They will
again.
vote again. It's a county tax, and it's one of those things where you look at what it's done for our community. Those are valuable assets that we wouldn't have had. It's very difficult for smaller municipalities to be able to get any real nice recreational infrastructure without it. But whether the voters want it again, I don't know that that's anything that we can count on with any certainty, other than that I think we've done well with what we've got, and we've got a good little nest egg there. And I do like the idea, if I was actually on the council when it was voted on, and Councilwoman Granger, great lady, great artist. She was at the art gala just this last weekend with her art, and she recognized the importance of having some kind of financial or some cultural arts infrastructure so that we can display and go forward with the arts. But I probably wouldn't have voted for it if it had to be used for that. But we always have that option to bring it back out and then distribute it wherever the council decides.
Any other questions about RAP tax? Like I was saying, interest rates for the last 2 years have held us pretty much the same. They're down from 2020. Last year we did collect about right around $700,000 in earned interest. And there you can see the graph, kind of how it's trended over the last 3 years. And then moving on, just I put in a summary for the enterprise funds, so your water, sewer, power, and storm. And here you can see their revenues and expenses for the past 3 years. So do you have any questions regarding the quarterly report?
So
I feel the city's in a good situation. Every day I come to work, I think we have a great team here in the finance, and I really enjoy working at the city, and plus I get to work with numbers all day, so.
We're glad that excites you.
Numbers to you and trees for Thad.
Spreadsheets.
We don't want to give too many kudos to Brian, but all of the general fund accounts came in at or under expense, the expense that the council had budgeted. So that takes a lot of effort on the part of Brian and the department heads to make sure that they're in a changing environment, an environment when we had a lot of inflation mid-year, that we were able to keep everything under the budgeted amounts, of course, with the adjustments that we come to you to make, but that takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, the only challenge we've had with this year's supply chain and getting certain items in. So you may see us next year have to move some of those items over to the budget because we just couldn't get them in. They were saying some things are 2-3 years out.
I always feel like we're in really good hands financially with Brian. He reminds me a lot of my brother, who's an accountant. So.
You can't go wrong with a compliment.
My brother's
like that.
a good dude, so that's a compliment. Thad was my brother's roommate at BYU, so.
I haven't been Brian's roommate yet.
Let's hope that. Thank you, Brian. Hey, and good luck to you Saturday in the marathon.
Go, Brian.
Great. Let's move on to item 9, which is a report of officers from assigned committees. We'll start on my left and go to the right. Councilman Henderson, do you have any reports to make?
You bet. Thad and I were able to attend the shade tree committee today at noon, and it was great. One thing I learned today is that the city has 2,500 trees approximately, and they keep close track of them. What else, Thad, did we learn?
Did Thad count them on Google Earth?
No, they had somebody that's a better counter than me, but they have, even though we have 2,500, there's ambition, and a goal was discussed of how many trees do they think their department could get planted in a year, and how do they use volunteers. And so we've got a lot of trees, and we've got people that want more trees and are trying to leverage just the goodwill of our citizens and the desire to give back to plant more.
Are we considered a tree city, USA, or
Well,
am I still in your thunder? Go ahead.
No. Yeah, they're involved in that, making applications and doing everything that they need to do to do that, to get the awards and to get to be, a top tree city USA. So they were talking about that today. So there's a lot of guys on that committee that are very knowledgeable about trees, and they're passionate about it, kind of like that is. And I've been learning a lot going there. So, Washington City is a beautiful, beautiful city, and we look at our parks and things. When I don't travel a lot, but when I go to California or Nevada or wherever we go, I take notice and look at the parks and things, and I don't know of any city that has anything on Washington City. Our staff does such a great job keeping our parks. I think they're world class. So it's always a pleasure to meet with these guys and, eat lunch together and to be able to visit.
So Mayor, to confirm your question on Tree City USA, we haven't received that designation yet. We've had a number of steps to get there. One was we needed to count our trees and track and record them. Our department worked in conjunction with the Utah State Forester and some of their staff to take care of that. Another is we need to have things like a committee, a board that oversees our trees and kind of our tree plans. You'll recall a few months ago I was here and we were talking about trying to remember the name of the document that we were proposing for the Washington City as it relates to shade trees. And so we've just had to go through a number of steps to get there. We're now at the point to submit, and we anticipate we'll have that good news at some point.
And they had that document today. We looked at it. It was nice. I mean, they've done a great job. So
well done.
So Mayor, can I ask him a question while we're on
Please.
shade trees? So I have a pear tree that's over 100 years old, and it's the ends of the limbs are dying. Is that the county agent, or do we have a specialist on the shade tree committee that we could contact?
We do have some tree specialists on the shade committee that are hobbyists, but probably know just as much as the agent. Old brother Christensen, what's his first name? There's a couple that I can get for you that might be able to help you. Where's the tree located?
Enterprise.
I know that the state has a special interest. They have a person whose job it is to research all the old fruit trees in our state. And that one might be old enough to be of interest to the state.
Okay, good. I'll get with you. Thank you.
Anything else, Councilman?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councilman Ivy?
So yes, a couple of things. I had a ride along with fire department just since we met last, and went out with crew out of 61, and we were doing some inspections at some of the businesses over in the In-N-Out Burger complex, and we got a call for an emergency at another business, and we went to it. And again, I enjoy a lot riding with them and their professionalism and the great community attitude that they have, and I appreciated them very much. Washington City had the annual art gala last on the 24th, last Saturday. It was held at the Brio homeowners building there, and there was artists from Washington and Southern Utah, 2D and 3D art. Hors d'oeuvres were served. There was live music, and it was really a nice event. It's a chance for the artists to get together and kind of show their work and maybe sell some. And I keep telling them I don't know a thing about art, only I like it all. So we're going to continue with that. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is for the last several months, well, it's been just over a year ago now that Mayor Nelson asked me to join the Hillside Committee. And I've been working with community development, Drew and Eldon, for the last, probably a lot more intensely the last 3 or 4 months to try to hone in on our policy and to look at it and see if it really meets what we would like it to do as a city. Now, the one thing that I've noticed being on this committee is that the purpose of the Hillside Committee on one side of it is to ensure safety, that they're building on suitable soil, or the house isn't going to fail or the business isn't going to fail. But the other side of it is, and this is the side that I focus on in my duties on this board, and that is purpose is to protect the hillside, the vistas and the views. And the one thing that I've noticed as I've done work on this is that it's not just a hillside. There's also vistas that are created by canyons and low-lying areas as well. And our like I said, our policy is good. I'm just wondering, at some point with your approval, I would like to bring back to maybe perhaps a work meeting where we discuss a little bit about Hillside and kind of look at it and what it means to our city, what it means to our visitors, and whether or not that it's accomplishing what we've want to do. I've asked Jeremy and Mr. Simper out at Public Works if they would create maps that would reflect our hillside percentage zone, because that helps builders and people that are going to build. It helps them to be able to see what they can build, and it's a way to kind of get off the starting line evenly so that they know and we know what those things look like. But I've taken a lot of time in reviewing other hillside ordinance and trying to understand what's fair. I firmly believe in property rights and all that, but I think that we have a real serious responsibility to protect our vistas and views. And I've learned a lot this last year, and I've really appreciated community development in assisting me while I've looked at this, but that may be a conversation that we could have in the future where it's just really, I would just like to know what the rest of the council is thinking and a little bit of conversation, Mayor, when that's appropriate, maybe I'll mention it to you and see what we can do about that. But it's a good cause for our city. And I think that it's only going to become more needed as people realize the flat ground is maybe running out maybe just a little bit in certain areas and they want to go vertical. So we'll be ready for it. So
Thank you. Thanks for your service on that committee too. Councilmember Casperson.
Well, we had our Historical Preservation Commission meeting with a great group of people. And there's just one thing that I wanted to bring here to talk about, and that was trying to, on roads where you're entering into our city, have signs that say, "Welcome to Washington City," to make it more of a, some people still say, that they live here in Washington City, yet they say that they're from St. George. So I was trying to make it more distinguishable. I felt that was a great discussion that we had, and to really try to make it so we're known here. Do you want to add anything else, Jordan? Okay.
No, I actually love that idea. And I know that you're being modest with the amount of work that you put into that committee and also into the Active Transportation Committee. So thank you for your site visits and for the service that you continually do behind the scenes. Appreciate it.
I want to know when we're going on another bike ride for the Active Transportation Committee.
Well, maybe we could do the map for all the walking brochure or the biking brochure to see all the historical sites.
Yeah, that was fun.
And no one even died on that.
Yeah.
I know that was a concern for some of you. Derby had an e-bike, so.
Yeah, I imagine a few of these people up here would be on motorcycles. Thank you. I'll just give a quick update. With the Dixie Metropolitan Planning Organization, we plan roads regionally. It's a great opportunity to get together with that group and work through different funding sources and collaborate, on needs that benefit us countywide. I really missed having Mike there at our last meeting, and he was actually as I recall, I think he was a founding member of the Dixie MPO. So he's really going to be missed, and we'll welcome in Mr. Fonsbeck Blake as soon as he gets on board. But I guess as far as update from that committee, we did approve a regional active transportation plan that allows us to connect our trails and our roadway transportations for bikes and walking, etc. And that allows us to be in a better position for funding as those come available from other levels of administration. We met this week on the Habitat Conservation Advisory Committee. That's for the Red Cliffs Desert Reserve. It's an important committee meeting in that we manage those protected lands that oversee the habitat for the Mojave Desert Tortoise. And so a couple of things that are happening there is with the beautiful new county administration building right there on the main floor as you enter into it will be a really nice education visitor center dedicated to those protected lands and to the desert tortoise. An interesting thing that they're incorporating now is using drone observations to count the number and to consider the trends of the population. It's difficult because desert tortoise can live about 25 years on average, but we're really trying to be good stewards of that land and coordinate with all the parties involved and protect that species. They're also finding with those drone observations that they can also kind of find clusters of that bear claw poppy that's also protected. One thing that in our meeting this week we worked on is what are the recreational uses that we could improve and use on that land in Zone 6, which is kind of west of Bloomington. So that's something that it'll take some time, but they'll start to more clearly define mountain biking, equestrian, and hiking trails, and some of those things on public lands. I was thrilled to be with many of you, a week or so ago at the ribbon cutting for the Sienna Hills Auto Mall. I thought that was just a continuing step that shows that we recognize the need for economic development and the benefit that is to cities having supported and viable public safety and roads and amenities that make this a quality place to live. So we welcome them. And then I just want to let you know that I really appreciate the opportunity I have to work with those at the Washington County Water Conservancy District. I know we spent an hour of time during our work session, and I just felt like they would be able to give this council a better update on some of the moving pieces than I would. But I can just tell you that that's where a significant amount of my time is spent on water, and I just want to let you know that I trust what they're doing. I trust the direction we're going, and I just appreciate that support, and want to involve you in any way I can on that. And that's what I have for my report. Item 10, City Manager Report.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I want to talk about kind of goes along with what you were talking about. Last Friday, I spent at Bryce Canyon at Ruby's Inn. It was my first time I've been there. So I get to visit these new places that I didn't get to visit when I was in southeastern Utah. But that was for a UDOT Joint Highway Committee meeting. And the Joint Highway Committee, really, it's 15 municipal representatives and 15 county representatives, and they're appointed by UAC and the League of Cities and Towns. And they're an advisory committee for UDOT for rules and changes that UDOT want to make, sort of like a planning commission-ish role. And then we also help distribute funds for communities that are not served by MPOs. So there are a lot of communities in our state that are too small and rural, and they're not served by MPOs. And I've served on that committee about 10 years. And when I came over here, they appointed me. It's done by region. So they moved me from one region to another. But I've been the chair for the municipalities for the last 6 years. I tried my best to give it away and let someone else have the opportunity, but I'm going to do it for 2 more years at least. So they did that. There are a lot of interesting things. There's more infrastructure money coming from the federal government than has come before, and the mayor's probably aware of this, but that means that there will be more money that goes into infrastructure in our state, into the MPOs, which we really need, because everybody is seeing this. Inflation is just killing the projects that they have planned. And so the extra money's coming. I know the state's looking to help fill some of that gap, but the federal government will be doing that as well. So we hope we can still see all those projects come through, really important projects throughout the state. The federal government stepped up and gave the state a bunch of money to do bridge replacements. And so they're doing a lot of that. So there's a lot of good things going on in transportation. The next meeting of the Joint Highway Committee will be in April, and they usually do it in our area in conjunction with the league meetings that come here. So we'll see if we can't get them over to Washington City and help remind them that St. George, the area doesn't end at the Dixie Center, even though that's a great place. The mayor mentioned Blake Fonsbeck, our new Public Works Director. He'll start on the 11th. So we have a meeting on the 12th, and you'll meet him his second day of work. So we will been in contact with him. He's excited to be here. He's purchased a house, and everything's on track for the 11th. So
Jeremy, is that money that's coming for the bridges and different things, is that part of that infrastructure plan?
Yes.
From the federal government?
Yeah, it was the bridge money was part of a previous infrastructure plan, but the new infrastructure plan that just got passed that was massive is going to pour more money into these projects.
What does it look like for Washington City with that? Do you have kind of an idea yet? I know you haven't seen it, but.
Yeah, so Washington City is covered by the MPO, so that funding goes to the MPO, and then they decide how to distribute it. And I know in the past we received money to do the 3650 interchange, other projects throughout the region. So they get together and prioritize the needs of the region. And
so that comes to the county, not to the municipal itself.
goes to the MPO, which is the 5-county.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact name, but you know what I'm talking about, the 5-county. Yeah. If we get enough layers of government in here, the 5-county Association of Governments, that's right, who run the MPOs. So,
I think we're in the military.
yeah. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Excellent. Appreciate all the work everyone's doing. We do have need to go to closed session for item 11C, character or professional competence of an individual. At this time, I'll call for a motion to move into closed session for that item.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Coates.
Second.
Second by Henderson. Casperson.
Aye.
Ivy.
Really? Aye.
Henderson.
Aye.
Coates. We have to actually get like 60% to go into closed session. So we just made it. We got 75, 3-1 on that one.
Can I change mine to nay?
No,
at
you
this
can't.
point?
The vote has been recorded, it passed.
Mine's a
I know, you're good. We're just joking. Mayor just closed the meeting. What you doing? I just missed your call.